Ruth and Henry's wedding day was nothing short of a fairy tale filled with laughter, love, and the promise of a beautiful future together. The sun shone brightly as they exchanged vows in a picturesque garden, surrounded by blooming flowers and the gentle rustle of leaves. Friends and family gathered, their faces glowing with joy as Ruth walked down the aisle, her radiant smile captivating everyone present. Henry, waiting at the altar, couldn't take his eyes off her, his heart swelling with love and admiration. The ceremony was a blend of heartfelt moments and light-hearted laughter as they shared their vows, pledging to support and cherish one another for all their days. As they sealed their promises with a kiss, the air was filled with cheers and applause, marking the beginning of their journey as a married couple. The reception that followed was equally enchanting, with twinkling fairy lights illuminating the evening sky and music that beckoned everyone to dance. Ruth and Henry shared their first dance as husband and wife, lost in each other's eyes, while their loved ones celebrated their union with joy and warmth. However, beneath the surface of this idyllic day, a sense of unease began to creep in, hinting at the strange occurrences that would soon unfold. As the couple settled into their new life together, they discovered an antique mirror that had been passed down through Ruth's family. It was a beautiful piece, intricately designed, and it seemed to hold a certain allure. At first, it was merely a charming addition to their home, reflecting the love and happiness that filled their lives. But soon, peculiar events began to transpire. Ruth noticed that the mirror sometimes reflected images that didn't match the reality in front of it. Shadows flickered in its depths, and whispers seemed to echo from its surface, sending chills down her spine. Henry, initially dismissive of her concerns, soon found himself drawn to the mirror's enigmatic presence. He began to experience unsettling dreams, visions that felt all too real, hinting at a past intertwined with the mirror's history. As the days turned into weeks, the couple found themselves caught in a web of mystery and intrigue. Friends and family began to notice the change in Ruth and Henry, their once joyful demeanor now tinged with confusion and fear. The mirror seemed to hold secrets, and the couple felt compelled to uncover its origins. What had once been a symbol of their love now felt like a harbinger of something darker. The blend of romance and suspense enveloped their lives as they delved deeper into the mirror's past, uncovering stories of love, loss, and the supernatural. With each revelation, the stakes grew higher, and Ruth and Henry realized that their love would be tested in ways they never imagined. Would they be able to confront the mysteries that lay ahead, or would the mirror's secrets tear them apart? The journey had only just begun, and the echoes of the past were calling them to uncover the truth. Ruth and Henry's wedding ceremony was a celebration brimming with joy and excitement, a day that would forever be etched in their hearts. As they stood before their loved ones, the air was thick with love and anticipation. Ruth, adorned in a stunning white gown that flowed like a gentle breeze, radiated happiness. Her laughter echoed through the garden, a melody that harmonized perfectly with the chirping birds and rustling leaves. Henry, dapper in his tailored suit, couldn't help but beam with pride as he watched his bride walk down the aisle, her smile illuminating the entire venue. The couple exchanged vows under a beautifully decorated arch, surrounded by vibrant flowers that seemed to mirror their love. Each word spoken was filled with sincerity, and as they promised to cherish one another, the audience felt the weight of their commitment. The moment they sealed their vows with a kiss was met with a chorus of cheers and applause, a testament to the love that enveloped them. Following the ceremony, the celebration continued with a lively reception that echoed the couple's happiness. Friends and family gathered around tables adorned with elegant centerpieces, laughter and chatter filling the air. The festive atmosphere was palpable, with music playing softly in the background, inviting everyone to dance and celebrate the union of Ruth and Henry. Guests shared heartfelt toasts, recounting cherished memories and expressing their best wishes for the couple's future. The joy was contagious, as everyone reveled in the love that surrounded them. Gifts poured in from well-wishers, each one a token of affection and support. There were beautifully wrapped boxes filled with kitchenware, heartfelt letters, and even handmade crafts that spoke volumes about the relationships Ruth and Henry had nurtured over the years. Each gift was a reminder of the community that stood behind them, ready to support their journey together. Amidst the sea of presents, one peculiar gift caught Ruth's eye. It was an ornate box, intricately carved with designs that seemed to dance in the light. The moment she laid eyes on it, a shiver of curiosity ran down her spine. The box was unlike anything she had ever seen, and it bore no name tag, leaving her to wonder who had gifted it. As she carefully opened the lid, a soft glow emanated from within, revealing an antique mirror, its surface shimmering with an otherworldly quality. The guests around them paused, intrigued by the unexpected gift, and a hush fell over the crowd. Ruth felt an inexplicable connection to the mirror, as if it held secrets waiting to be unveiled. Henry, noticing her fascination, leaned closer, sharing in her curiosity. The atmosphere shifted slightly, a blend of excitement and mystery settling over the celebration. Little did they know this peculiar gift would soon become a focal point in their lives, intertwining their love story with an enigmatic past. As the festivities continued, Ruth and Henry couldn't shake the feeling that this mirror was more than just a beautiful decoration. It was a harbinger of the adventures and challenges that lay ahead, setting the stage for a journey filled with both romance and suspense. As the festivities continued, Ruth and Henry gathered their friends and family around to witness the unwrapping of the mysterious mirror. The ornate box, with its intricate carvings and delicate hinges, seemed to pulse with an energy of its own. Ruth carefully lifted the lid, her heart racing with anticipation. Inside, the mirror lay nestled in a bed of soft velvet, its surface gleaming as if it held a light of its own. The frame was a stunning blend of antique gold and silver, adorned with swirling patterns that seemed to dance and shift as the light caught them. It was undeniably beautiful, yet there was something strange about it, an unsettling aura that made the hairs on the back of Ruth's neck stand on end. As she lifted the mirror from its resting place, Ruth felt an inexplicable pull toward it, her fingers tracing the ornate designs along the frame. "It's breathtaking," she whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. Yet, as she turned to share her excitement with Henry, she noticed a flicker of unease cross his face. He stood a step back, his brow furrowed, as if he could sense something lurking beneath the mirror's surface. "Are you sure we should keep it?" he asked, his voice low and cautious. Ruth, caught between her fascination and Henry's apprehension, felt a twinge of doubt. The crowd watched with bated breath, sensing the tension that had suddenly enveloped the couple. Ruth, determined to dismiss Henry's unease, held the mirror up to the light, marveling at how it reflected not just her image, but the entire room in a way that felt almost surreal. "Look at how it captures everything," she exclaimed, her excitement bubbling over. But Henry remained unconvinced, his instincts warning him that this gift was more than just a beautiful object. As the couple admired the mirror, Ruth noticed something peculiar in its reflection, a fleeting shadow that seemed to dart just out of view. She blinked, and it was gone, leaving her momentarily disoriented. "Did you see that?" she asked, her voice tinged with curiosity. Henry shook his head, but the unease in his eyes deepened. "Maybe it's just the lighting," he suggested, though he couldn't shake the feeling that the mirror was somehow watching them. The atmosphere shifted, a subtle tension hanging in the air as the guests resumed their celebrations, but Ruth and Henry remained captivated by the mirror. It was as if it had cast a spell over them, drawing them into its depths. Yet, beneath the surface of their excitement, a sense of foreboding lingered. The mirror, with its beautiful yet strange appearance, seemed to whisper secrets of the past, hinting at dark events that would soon unfold. As the night wore on, Ruth and Henry placed the mirror in a prominent spot in their home, unaware of the shadows it would cast over their lives. The allure of the mysterious gift would soon intertwine with their love story, leading them down a path filled with unexpected twists and challenges. Little did they know, the mirror was not just a reflection of their happiness, but a gateway to a world where the past and present would collide, forever altering their lives. After hanging the mysterious mirror in their living room, Ruth and Henry's once peaceful home began to transform into a place filled with unsettling changes. At first, it was subtle, a flicker of movement in the corner of their eyes, a soft rustle that seemed to echo through the halls. But as days turned into weeks, the disturbances grew more pronounced, casting a shadow over their idyllic life. The mirror, once a symbol of their love and joy, now felt like a dark presence looming over them. Eerie shadows danced along the walls, shifting and twisting in ways that defied explanation. Ruth would often catch glimpses of these shadows, darting just out of sight, leaving her heart racing and her mind racing with questions. "Did you see that?" she would ask Henry, her voice tinged with anxiety. But Henry, still grappling with his own unease, would shake his head, dismissing her concerns. "It's just the light playing tricks," he would say, though deep down he felt a growing sense of dread that he couldn't quite articulate. The noises were even more disconcerting. At night, when the house was supposed to be quiet, they would hear faint whispers, like echoes of conversations long forgotten. Sometimes it sounded as if someone was moving about in the other rooms, the creaking of floorboards and the soft clinking of objects, creating an unsettling symphony that disrupted their sleep. Ruth would lie awake, clutching the sheets, her heart pounding as she listened to the sounds that seemed to emanate from the mirror itself. Henry, too, found it difficult to rest, his mind racing with thoughts of what might be lurking just beyond their perception. As the disturbances continued, tension began to build between the couple. Ruth's fascination with the mirror clashed with Henry's growing apprehension. "We should get rid of it," he insisted one evening, frustration creeping into his voice. "It's not normal, Ruth. This isn't just our imagination." But Ruth, still captivated by the mirror's beauty, felt a strange connection to it. "I can't just let it go," she replied, her tone defensive. "It's part of our home now." The disagreement hung heavy in the air, a palpable rift forming between them as they struggled to reconcile their differing perspectives. With each passing day, the sense of dread surrounding the mirror deepened. Ruth began to feel as if it was watching her, its surface reflecting not just her image, but her innermost fears. She would stand before it, searching for answers, only to be met with an unsettling emptiness that sent chills down her spine. Henry, meanwhile, grew increasingly withdrawn, his unease manifesting in sleepless nights and distracted days. The love that had once flourished between them now felt strained, overshadowed by the growing darkness that seemed to seep from the mirror. As the atmosphere in their home shifted, Ruth and Henry found themselves caught in a web of uncertainty and fear. The mirror, once a beautiful gift, had become a harbinger of something sinister, a reminder that not all reflections reveal the truth. The shadows and whispers that filled their lives were not just figments of their imagination. They were a prelude to the dark events that lay ahead, threatening to unravel the very fabric of their love and happiness. Little did they know, the mirror was only beginning to reveal its true nature, and the journey ahead would test their bond in ways they could never have anticipated. Ruth and Henry's lives took a joyous turn when they discovered that Ruth was pregnant. The news filled their home with an overwhelming sense of excitement and hope, a bright light piercing through the shadows that had begun to creep in since the arrival of the mirror. They spent countless evenings dreaming about their future child, envisioning the laughter that would fill their home and the love that would blossom as they embarked on this new chapter together. Ruth would often place her hands on her growing belly, feeling a connection to the life within her, while Henry would talk to the baby, sharing his dreams of fatherhood and the adventures they would have as a family. They decorated a nursery with soft colors and whimsical designs, each brushstroke a testament to their anticipation and love. However, just as their dreams began to take shape, tragedy struck. One fateful evening, as Ruth was preparing dinner, she felt a sudden wave of dizziness wash over her. She brushed it off, attributing it to fatigue, but the sensation intensified, leaving her feeling unsteady. Henry, noticing her distress, rushed to her side, concern etched across his face. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice laced with worry. Ruth nodded, but deep down she felt an unsettling sense of foreboding. Moments later, the world around them spiraled into chaos. Ruth collapsed to the floor, clutching her stomach, a scream of pain escaping her lips. Henry's heart raced as he knelt beside her, panic flooding his senses. He called for help, his voice trembling as he tried to keep Ruth conscious. The minutes felt like hours as they awaited assistance, the weight of fear pressing down on them. When the paramedics arrived, they worked swiftly, but the urgency in their movements only heightened Henry's dread. At the hospital, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Ruth was whisked away for examination, leaving Henry in a state of helplessness. He paced the waiting room, his mind racing with thoughts of their future, the dreams they had built now hanging by a thread. Hours passed, and when a doctor finally approached him, Henry's heart sank. The words that followed were a blur, but the meaning was painfully clear. Ruth had lost the baby. The news shattered their world. Ruth's joy had turned to despair, and Henry felt as if the ground had been pulled from beneath him. When he finally saw Ruth, her eyes were filled with tears, a haunting emptiness reflecting the loss they both felt. They held each other tightly, the weight of their grief enveloping them like a heavy blanket. In the days that followed, the emotional impact of their loss was profound. Ruth struggled to find solace, her heart aching for the child they would never hold. She often found herself staring at the mirror, searching for answers, but all it reflected was her pain. Henry, too, felt the crushing weight of their tragedy. He tried to be strong for Ruth, but the sorrow gnawed at him, leaving him feeling isolated in his grief. Their once vibrant home now felt hollow, the laughter replaced by silence. The dreams they had shared were overshadowed by an unbearable sadness, and the mirror, once a symbol of hope, now felt like a reminder of their loss. As they navigated this dark chapter together, Ruth and Henry realized that their love would be tested in ways they had never imagined, and the journey ahead would require them to confront not only their grief, but also the shadows that lingered in their lives. As time passed, Ruth found herself caught in a haunting cycle of hope and despair, marked by a series of pregnancies that ended in heartbreak. Each time she discovered she was expecting, a flicker of joy ignited within her, only to be extinguished by the devastating loss that followed. The pattern became all too familiar, the excitement of preparing for a new life, the dreams of a future filled with laughter, and then the crushing reality of grief that left her feeling hollow. With each loss, Ruth's heart grew heavier, and a gnawing fear began to take root in her mind. As the months turned into years, Ruth's suspicion regarding Henry's involvement in these tragedies began to fester. She couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister was at play, a dark force lurking just beyond their understanding. Henry, once her steadfast partner, seemed increasingly distant, his own grief manifesting as a withdrawal that left Ruth feeling isolated. She would catch him staring at the mirror, his expression unreadable, and a chill would run down her spine. Was he hiding something from her? The thought gnawed at her, creating a rift between them that grew wider with each passing day. The strain of this cycle weighed heavily on their marriage. Conversations that once flowed easily became fraught with tension, each word laced with unspoken fears and doubts. Ruth found herself questioning everything: Henry's support, his love, and even his intentions. "Do you really want this family?" she would ask, her voice trembling with emotion. Henry would respond with frustration, insisting that he was just as devastated by their losses. But the connection between them felt frayed, as if they were two ships passing in the night. The joy they once shared was overshadowed by a growing sense of dread, and Ruth felt as if she were losing not only her children, but also the man she loved. The mirror, which had once been a beautiful gift, now loomed ominously in their home, a constant reminder of their pain. Ruth began to associate it with the dark presence that seemed to envelop their lives. She would often stand before it, searching for answers in its depths, but all she found was her own reflection, twisted and distorted by grief. The whispers that had once been mere echoes now felt like a chorus of voices, taunting her with the knowledge of what she had lost. It was as if the mirror was a portal to something sinister, a force that thrived on their sorrow. Ruth's growing fear began to manifest in her dreams, where she would see shadowy figures lurking in the corners of her mind, their intentions unclear but undeniably malevolent. She would wake in a cold sweat, heart racing, convinced that the mirror was somehow connected to the tragedies that had befallen her. Each time she lost a child, the sense of a dark presence grew stronger, and she couldn't shake the feeling that it was somehow tied to Henry as well. Was he unwittingly complicit in this cycle of loss, or was there something more sinister at play? As the strain on their marriage deepened, Ruth found herself at a crossroads. She could no longer ignore the whispers of doubt that filled her mind. The love they had once shared was now overshadowed by suspicion and fear, and the mirror, once a symbol of their dreams, had become a harbinger of their darkest nightmares. Ruth knew she had to confront the truth, not only about the mirror, but also about the man she had vowed to love. The journey ahead would demand courage and clarity as she sought to unravel the mystery that had entwined their lives in a web of sorrow and uncertainty. In the depths of her despair, Ruth made the difficult decision to seek help from her stepmother, a woman known for her wisdom and understanding of the spiritual realm. Ruth had always felt a connection to her stepmother, who had a way of seeing beyond the surface, and in this moment of desperation, she hoped that her guidance could illuminate the darkness that had enveloped her life. The weight of her losses had become unbearable, and Ruth longed for answers that seemed just out of reach. Her stepmother welcomed her with open arms, sensing the turmoil that lay beneath Ruth's composed exterior. Over cups of herbal tea, Ruth poured out her heart, recounting the cycle of pregnancies and the heart-wrenching losses that had followed. Her stepmother listened intently, her expression a mix of concern and compassion. "Sometimes the answers we seek are not found in the physical world," she said softly, her voice carrying the weight of experience. "There are forces at play that we cannot see, and it may be time to seek the guidance of someone who can help us understand." With her stepmother's encouragement, Ruth decided to consult a local prophetess, a woman revered in their community for her mysterious powers and deep connection to the spiritual realm. The prophetess was known to possess the ability to see beyond the veil of reality, offering insights that could guide those in need. Ruth felt a flicker of hope as she made her way to the prophetess's home, a quaint cottage nestled at the edge of the woods, surrounded by fragrant herbs and vibrant flowers. The air was thick with the scent of incense, and the atmosphere felt charged with energy as she stepped inside. The prophetess, an elderly woman with piercing eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages, greeted Ruth with a knowing smile. "You seek answers, child," she said, her voice a melodic whisper that resonated with authority. Ruth nodded, her heart racing as she felt the weight of the moment. The prophetess motioned for her to sit, and as Ruth settled into the chair, she felt a sense of calm wash over her. With a flick of her wrist, the prophetess began to arrange a series of crystals and candles on a small table, creating a sacred space for their session. "The spirits have much to reveal," she murmured, her fingers dancing over the objects as if they were alive. Ruth watched in awe, captivated by the ritual unfolding before her. The prophetess closed her eyes, her brow furrowing in concentration, and Ruth felt a palpable energy in the room, as if the air itself was charged with anticipation. As the prophetess began to speak, her voice took on an otherworldly quality. There is a dark presence that lingers in your life, tied to the mirror you possess, she revealed, her eyes still closed. It feeds on your sorrow, drawing strength from your grief. You must confront it, or it will continue to haunt you. Ruth's heart raced at the revelation, a mixture of fear and determination coursing through her veins. In that moment, Ruth understood the cultural significance of seeking spiritual guidance. It was a tradition woven into the fabric of her community, a way to connect with the unseen forces that shaped their lives. The prophetess's words resonated deeply within her, igniting a spark of hope that perhaps, just perhaps, she could reclaim her life from the shadows that had taken hold. With her stepmother's support and the prophetess's insights, Ruth felt a renewed sense of purpose. She was ready to confront the darkness and uncover the truth behind the mirror, no matter the cost. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the prophetess's cottage, Ruth felt a mix of fear and hope swirling within her. The air was thick with anticipation, charged with the energy of the impending ritual. The prophetess had prepared a sacred space, adorned with candles flickering in the dim light, their flames dancing like spirits in the night. The scent of burning sage filled the room, cleansing the air of negativity and creating an atmosphere ripe for transformation. Ruth could feel her heart racing as she took her place in the center of the circle, surrounded by crystals that glimmered with an otherworldly light. The prophetess began to chant in a melodic, ancient language, her voice rising and falling like the tide. Ruth closed her eyes, focusing on the sound, allowing it to wash over her. As the words enveloped her, she felt a strange sensation coursing through her body, a mix of warmth and cold, as if the very essence of the universe was flowing through her veins. Yet, with each chant, a heaviness settled in her chest, a reminder of the darkness she was about to confront. The toll of the ritual was already beginning to manifest, and she braced herself for what was to come. As the prophetess continued her incantations, she moved closer to Ruth, her hands hovering just above her body, as if sensing the presence that had taken hold of her. Ruth could feel the energy shifting, a palpable tension in the air that made her skin prickle. The prophetess's eyes snapped open, revealing a fierce intensity that sent a shiver down Ruth's spine. "You must be strong, child," she urged, her voice steady yet urgent. "The spirit will fight back, but you have the power to reclaim your life." With that, the ritual intensified. The prophetess began to invoke the spirits of protection, calling upon ancient forces to aid in the battle against the dark presence. Ruth felt a surge of energy, but it was quickly followed by a wave of exhaustion that threatened to pull her under. She gasped, her breath coming in short bursts as the weight of the spirit pressed down on her, a suffocating force that sought to reclaim its hold. Tears streamed down her face, a mixture of fear and determination fueling her resolve. The atmosphere in the room was electric, a blend of fear and hope that hung in the air like a thick fog. Ruth could sense the spirits swirling around her, their presence both comforting and intimidating. The prophetess's chants grew louder, more insistent, as she called upon the light to banish the darkness. Ruth felt her heart pounding in her chest, each beat echoing the rhythm of the ritual. She focused on the flickering candles, their flames representing the hope that still burned within her. As the ritual reached its climax, Ruth felt a sudden jolt, as if a bolt of lightning had struck her. The spirit fought fiercely, its energy clashing with the protective forces summoned by the prophetess. Ruth cried out, the physical and emotional toll of the ritual overwhelming her senses. But deep within her, a flicker of strength ignited. She remembered the dreams she had for her future, the love she wanted to nurture, and the life she longed to reclaim. With a final surge of willpower, Ruth summoned every ounce of strength she had left. "I am stronger than you," she shouted, her voice ringing out with newfound conviction. The room erupted in a whirlwind of energy, the candles flickering wildly as the spirit's hold began to weaken. The prophetess raised her arms, channeling the energy of the universe, and Ruth felt the darkness dissipate, replaced by a warm, radiant light that enveloped her. As the ritual concluded, Ruth collapsed to the floor, breathless but liberated. The weight that had burdened her for so long had lifted, and she felt a profound sense of peace wash over her. The prophetess knelt beside her, a knowing smile on her face. "You have faced the darkness and emerged victorious," she said softly. In that moment, Ruth understood the power of the ritual, the belief in its ability to bring change, and she felt a renewed sense of hope for the future that lay ahead. After the intense ritual with the prophetess, Ruth felt a renewed sense of hope blossoming within her. It was as if a veil had been lifted, allowing light to seep back into her life. When she discovered she was pregnant again, the news filled her heart with a mix of joy and cautious optimism. This time, she and Henry approached the situation with a sense of reverence, aware of the fragility of their dreams, but determined to embrace the possibility of a brighter future. Ruth and Henry celebrated the news in their own quiet way, sharing a tender moment that felt like a promise of healing. They held each other close, savoring the warmth of their connection, and for the first time in a long while, laughter echoed through their home. They began to talk about names, envisioning the little one who would soon fill their lives with joy. "What about Lily?" Ruth suggested, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "It symbolizes purity and renewal." Henry smiled, nodding in agreement. "And if it's a boy, how about Samuel? It means God has heard." Their conversations flowed easily, a stark contrast to the tension that had previously clouded their relationship. As the weeks passed, they poured their energy into preparing for the arrival of their long-awaited child. Ruth transformed the nursery into a cozy haven, painting the walls a soft pastel hue and adorning the space with whimsical decorations. She meticulously arranged tiny clothes in the drawers, each piece a testament to her hopes and dreams. Henry joined in, assembling cribs and rocking chairs, his hands steady and sure as he worked alongside her. Together, they created a sanctuary filled with love, laughter, and anticipation, a stark reminder of the joy they had once envisioned. Yet, beneath the surface of their excitement, an underlying tension lingered. The past haunted them like a shadow, a constant reminder of the losses they had endured. Ruth often found herself staring at the mirror that hung in their living room, its surface reflecting not just their image but the echoes of their grief. She could feel the weight of the memories pressing down on her, the fear that the darkness might return. Henry, too, would occasionally catch himself glancing at the mirror, a flicker of unease crossing his face. They both understood that while they were filled with hope, the specter of their past losses loomed large, threatening to overshadow their newfound joy. Ruth tried to push the fear aside, focusing instead on the life growing within her. She attended prenatal classes, eager to learn everything she could about motherhood. Each session filled her with excitement, but there were moments when the anxiety would creep in, whispering doubts that made her heart race. Would this pregnancy be different? Would they finally be able to hold their child in their arms? Henry, too, felt the weight of their history. He often found himself lost in thought, grappling with the fear of losing another child. He wanted to be strong for Ruth, to shield her from the pain that had haunted them, but the memories of their past losses were never far from his mind. He would catch himself staring into the mirror, wondering if it still held the darkness that had once consumed them. Despite the tension, Ruth and Henry made a pact to support each other through the uncertainty. They would share their fears openly, allowing vulnerability to strengthen their bond. As they prepared for the arrival of their child, they clung to the hope that this time would be different. They believed in the power of love and the strength of their connection, determined to create a future filled with joy, laughter, and the promise of new beginnings. With each passing day, Ruth felt the flutter of life within her, a reminder that hope could triumph over despair. She knew that the journey ahead would not be without its challenges, but she was ready to face them head-on, hand in hand with Henry. Together they would navigate the shadows of their past, forging a path toward a brighter future for their growing family. Ruth's world shattered the moment she learned the truth about Henry and Ella. It was a crisp autumn afternoon when she stumbled upon a series of text messages on Henry's phone, innocently left unattended on the kitchen counter. As she scrolled through the screen, her heart raced, each message revealing a betrayal that felt like a dagger to her soul. The words exchanged between Henry and Ella were intimate, filled with affection and longing, and it became painfully clear that their relationship had crossed a line that Ruth had never imagined possible. Devastation washed over her like a tidal wave, leaving her breathless and reeling. The dreams they had built together, the hopes for their future child, all felt like a cruel joke. How could Henry, the man she had trusted with her heart, betray her in such a profound way? Ruth felt as if the ground had been pulled from beneath her, leaving her suspended in a void of disbelief and heartbreak. Tears streamed down her face as she clutched the phone, her mind racing with questions that had no answers. When Henry returned home, Ruth confronted him, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and sorrow. "How could you do this to me?" she demanded, her heart aching with betrayal. Henry's face paled as he realized the gravity of the situation. "Ruth, I can explain," he stammered, but the words felt hollow, inadequate to mend the chasm that had opened between them. The emotional fallout was immediate and devastating. Ruth felt a whirlwind of emotions, anger, sadness, and disbelief, each one crashing over her like waves against a rocky shore. The trust that had once been the foundation of their relationship crumbled, leaving behind a landscape of hurt and confusion. Henry's attempts to reach out, to apologize, only deepened her sense of betrayal. How could he expect her to forgive him so easily? The love they had shared now felt tainted, overshadowed by the reality of his infidelity. The impact on their family dynamics was profound. Ruth's relationship with her stepmother, who had been her confidant and support system, became strained as she struggled to process the betrayal. Her stepmother had always believed in the sanctity of marriage, and Ruth found herself grappling with feelings of shame and disappointment. Conversations that had once flowed freely became laden with tension as Ruth felt the weight of her family's expectations pressing down on her. As the days turned into weeks, Ruth found herself withdrawing from those around her, isolating herself in her pain. The joy she had felt during her pregnancy was overshadowed by the heartbreak that consumed her. She would often sit in the nursery, surrounded by the tiny clothes and toys they had lovingly chosen together, and feel an overwhelming sense of loss, not just for the child she was carrying, but for the life she had envisioned with Henry. Trust, once a cornerstone of their relationship, had been shattered, leaving Ruth questioning everything she thought she knew about love and loyalty. The betrayal cut deep, and she struggled to reconcile the man she had loved with the one who had caused her so much pain. Each time she looked at Henry, she was reminded of the betrayal, the intimacy he had shared with another woman, and the heartbreak that had become her constant companion. In the midst of her turmoil, Ruth began to realize that healing would take time. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with difficult choices and painful conversations. She knew she had to confront Henry, to decide whether their love was worth fighting for or if it had been irrevocably damaged. The themes of trust, betrayal, and heartbreak loomed large in her mind, and as she navigated this new reality, she understood that the journey toward healing would require not only strength, but also a willingness to confront the truth of their shattered relationship. The air was thick with tension as Ruth, Henry, and Ella gathered in the living room, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavily between them. Ruth's heart raced, a tumult of emotions swirling within her, anger, betrayal, and an aching sadness. She had insisted on this confrontation, believing that clarity was the only way to navigate the chaos that had engulfed their lives. As she looked at Henry, the man she had once trusted implicitly, and Ella, the woman who had shattered that trust, she felt a mix of dread and determination. Why? Ruth's voice trembled as she faced Henry, her eyes searching his for answers. How could you do this to me? To us? The pain in her voice was palpable, and Henry's expression shifted from guilt to anguish as he struggled to find the right words. I never meant for it to happen, he began, his voice low and filled with regret. It was a moment of weakness, and I thought I could keep it from you. I was wrong, and I'm so sorry. His eyes glistened with unshed tears, but Ruth felt a flicker of anger rise within her. How could he expect her to accept such a flimsy excuse? Ella, standing slightly apart, looked equally remorseful. Ruth, I never wanted to hurt you, she said, her voice breaking. I thought I was helping Henry through a tough time, but I see now how selfish I was. I'm so sorry. The sincerity in her tone was evident, but it did little to ease the storm brewing inside Ruth. As the confrontation unfolded, secrets began to spill forth, each revelation adding to the emotional turmoil. Henry admitted to feeling lost and overwhelmed, struggling with the weight of his own insecurities. I thought I could find solace in someone else, but it only made things worse, he confessed, his voice cracking. I realize now that I was pushing you away instead of reaching out for help. Ruth listened, her heart aching as she processed his words. The truth was painful, but it also illuminated the cracks in their relationship that had allowed this betrayal to occur. We both have to take responsibility for what happened, she said, her voice steadier now. I should have noticed the signs, and I should have communicated my fears instead of letting them fester. In that moment, a shift occurred. The raw honesty in the room began to pave the way for healing. Ruth took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her anger slowly dissipate. I don't want to lose you, Henry, she admitted, her voice softening. But we need to rebuild the trust that's been broken. It won't be easy, but I believe we can start anew if we're willing to work at it. Henry nodded, tears streaming down his cheeks. I'm committed to doing whatever it takes to earn your trust back. I love you, Ruth, and I want to make this right. Ella, sensing the shift, stepped forward. I understand if you never want to see me again, Ruth. I've caused you so much pain, and I'm truly sorry for my part in this. But I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive both of us. Ruth looked at Ella, her heart heavy but resolute. I can't promise that I'll forget, but I can try to forgive. We all need to heal from this. The atmosphere in the room began to lighten, the tension easing as they acknowledged the path ahead. They understood that communication would be vital in their journey toward healing. Ruth felt a flicker of hope ignite within her, a desire to rebuild not just her relationship with Henry, but also to redefine the boundaries of their connection with Ella. As they sat together, the three of them, a sense of resolution began to take root. They were all flawed, but they were also capable of growth and change. The road ahead would be challenging, but with open hearts and honest communication, they could navigate the complexities of their relationships and emerge stronger on the other side. In that moment, Ruth realized that forgiveness was not just an act, it was a commitment to healing, a promise to move forward together, no matter how difficult the journey might be. Ruth and Henry's journey has been a profound exploration of love, trust, and resilience, marked by emotional highs and devastating lows. Their story began with the blissful excitement of their wedding day, a celebration filled with laughter and dreams for the future. However, as they settled into married life, they were confronted with a series of heart-wrenching challenges, including the mysterious losses of their pregnancies, which cast a shadow over their once joyful home. The arrival of the antique mirror, initially a symbol of beauty, became a harbinger of darkness, intertwining their lives with a sense of foreboding that they struggled to understand. As they faced the emotional turmoil of loss, Ruth's growing suspicion of Henry's fidelity culminated in the shocking revelation of his betrayal with Ella. This moment shattered their relationship, leaving Ruth devastated and questioning everything she thought she knew about love and trust. Yet, amid the heartbreak, they found the strength to confront their pain. Through open communication and a willingness to face the truth, they began to navigate the complexities of their emotions, ultimately leading to a powerful confrontation that allowed for healing and forgiveness. The journey was not without its challenges. Ruth and Henry had to grapple with their insecurities, fears, and the weight of their past mistakes. However, their resilience shone through as they committed to rebuilding their relationship, recognizing that love is not just about the good times, but also about weathering the storms together. They learned that trust, once broken, could be rebuilt through honesty, vulnerability, and a shared desire to grow. Their willingness to confront their demons and seek help from Ruth's stepmother and the prophetess demonstrated their commitment to healing, both individually and as a couple. As they moved forward, Ruth and Henry embraced the idea that love is a journey, one that requires patience and understanding. They discovered that overcoming adversity can strengthen the bonds between partners, allowing them to emerge more united than ever. Their story serves as a reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope can be found and love can prevail when nurtured with care and dedication. In sharing their journey, we hope to inspire others to reflect on their own relationships and the importance of communication, trust, and resilience. Love is not always easy, but it is a powerful force that can guide us through the toughest of times. If you found Ruth and Henry's story moving and relatable, we encourage you to subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt narratives. Like this video and share it with friends and family who might benefit from these lessons of love and healing. Together, we can create a community that celebrates the strength of the human spirit and the transformative power of love. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we look forward to sharing more stories that resonate with your heart.